What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the stream. And today we are kicking off our rebuild series in MLB The Show 25. This year we're going to be rolling with the Miami Marlins. Now this is arguably one of the worst teams in the game. They are 29th in the league in overall rating. And that's backed up by real-life preseason power rankings from both MLB.com and ESPN, which both had them at 29 as well. I'll be honest, I'm pretty excited to use the Marlins this time around. I've been waiting to use them the last couple of years, but they've been pretty middle of the pack on paper, so they didn't make for the best rebuild franchise. That being said, last year they were abysmal, going 62-100 and firing their manager Skip Shoemaker. They did make the playoffs in 2023 with an 84-78 record, but beyond that, this is a franchise that historically struggles to find success. They've been under 500 14 of the last 16 seasons, one of those over 500 seasons being the 60-game COVID-shortened year of 2020, where they went 31-29. Outside of World Series titles in 1997 and 2003, the Marlins franchise has been the epitome of underwhelming. So because of their long-time struggles, it would be a very rewarding experience to build them into a perennial contender. It's also fun to use them because I think their jersey options are really cool, and I also have a personal connection to their location and the location of their farm teams. I went to medical school just outside of Miami, and now I live in Jacksonville for my residency training, and that's home to their AAA farm team, the Jumbo Shrimp. With all that being said, let's dive in here and meet the Major League squad and some of our top prospects. Starting us off is going to be our top player and trade asset, the big righty Sandy Alcantara. Sandy had been having a very strong career up until the 2023 season. There, though, he struggled a little more than usual and eventually ended up needing Tommy John surgery near the end of the year. He ended up missing all of 2024, but now he's finally back healthy and on the bump for us. He's still got a couple years left on a very favorable contract, but we'll likely look to move him early for a nice trade package, as I don't see him being a long-term asset for us. The next pitcher up is probably the guy I'm most excited to play with in this series, and that's Yuri Perez. This man is an absolute unit, standing at 6'8", 220 pounds, and he throws straight gas coming in at 97 miles an hour. The 21-year-old phenom is currently coming off of Tommy John surgery, but we'll see him near the tail end of Season 1. Definitely excited to use him. He has all the makings of a bona fide ace. Edward Cabrera is another youngster in this rotation. He's a former top prospect in the system, but his returns over the first couple of big league years have been a tad underwhelming. He's a big-time strikeout guy, but his control issues have gotten the best of him in the past, giving up too many walks and home runs. Is he a long-term rotation guy? Is he a reliever? I'm not really sure yet. Ryan Weathers is another guy who has that mold of a former top prospect who is underwhelmed in the big leagues. He started out in the Padres organization and debuted at the young age of 21 in 2021. His first few starts were pretty good, but it's been kind of a struggle ever since. I'd like to try him out as a starter, but it's quite possible he may fit better as a reliever long term. Cal Quantrill is one of the only moves the Marlins made this offseason, and he was their only MLB signing. He found some success in 21 and 22 in Cleveland, but he's fallen off hard these last two seasons. We're hoping he can rekindle some of that previous success and we can flip him for something decent at the deadline in year one. Braxton Garrett was starting to trend up as a strong left-handed starting option until a UCL injury sidelined him for most of the 2024 season. What's even worse is that he required a revision surgery this past January, so that'll keep him out all of 2025 as well. I'm hoping that doesn't completely derail him, but I'll admit I'm a little concerned. Yet another former top prospect is the young Max Meyer. He hasn't really gotten too many opportunities in the bigs quite yet. We'll be pushing him into a fifth starter role here early, even though he's only a 71 overall. But he's already 25, and we got to get him going if we want to capitalize on his beat potential. Our top long-term relief option is Declan Cronin. Last year he put up a really solid 2.42 FIP and 1.7 WAR in 70 innings pitched. That being said, I'm not too keen on keeping relievers in their late 20s on the roster very long when I'm early in a rebuild. So we'll likely look to capitalize when his value peaks. Similar thing can be said for Calvin Fauché. Pretty solid season last year as well, but he's already 29, so we'll probably look to move him pretty quickly as well. Now, Ronnie Enriquez, on the other hand, will be someone to watch. He's got high C potential and a pretty good all-around makeup with his ratings. He'll start in AAA because we don't quite have a spot for him in the Major League bullpen yet, but he's someone that I'm really intrigued by. Switching gears to the hitters, tied for the top overall is our shortstop Xavier Edwards. To be honest, he's more of a second baseman since he's not the greatest defender, but he has plenty of defensive versatility, so we'll worry about a long-term home for him in time. Defensive concerns aside, this dude can rake. His profile just screams top of the lineup with great contact vision, discipline combo, and a strong base running to boot. He's tied at an 80 overall with Otto Lopez, who honestly has a very similar profile. The main difference with Lopez is he's a much stronger defender, but he doesn't walk very much. These two make for a nice 1-2 combo at the top of our lineup, which is nice. One thing that worries me about Lopez, though, is his discipline being so low. That may be something that makes me consider trading him early on if the offer is right. Starting at catcher for us will be Nick Fortes. He's a solid defensive catcher with a little bit of pop in his bat, but he's already maxed out on potential. He'll basically be a transitional guy while we're waiting for a couple of top prospects to debut, and I'll get to them in a bit. Jonah Bride isn't a guy I'd normally be intrigued by, but he low-key kind of mashed in 71 games last year. It would be a nice benefit for us if he can keep that rolling. Big old Mash Mervis is also someone I'm a little excited about, mostly because he's a former Cubs top prospect, but I also like his power discipline combo. That's the exact type of thing I look for in a first baseman, so let's see if he pans out. Connor Norby was a nice little get at the trade deadline last year from the Orioles in exchange for Trevor Rogers. Not the greatest defender, but he can hold his own. Big time bat though. Early returns were strong last year, and I think he can be a good long-term option for us. Also acquired in that Trevor Rogers trade was outfielder Kyle Stowers. He's an intriguing left-handed bat and a former top prospect in the Orioles system. We'll give him some opportunities this year and see what we can get out of him. Dane Myers was kind of a late bloomer in the minors, but had a pretty strong 2024 season in only 44 games. He's got a good defensive profile in center field and hits lefties pretty well, but the big question for him will be how well he can hit righties and see if he can be a good asset for us. Jesus Sanchez can absolutely mash against righties, and he plays some strong defense, and he's only 27 years old. Problem is, though, he simply can't hit lefties. It's disappointing because he can be such a great trade asset if he could at least hold his own against lefties, but we'll just have to settle for deploying him against righties and hoping he shoves enough to catch the eye of some teams that need a good lefty bat. Griffin Conine is another former top prospect that finally broke through into the majors last year. He's got some pretty good pop in his bat and he plays solid defense as well. I'd love to see if he could build on what he did in 30 games in 2024. I think he'd be a good transition player for us. So now we shift gears to check out the farm system. The Marlins actually have a little bit better of a system than I usually like to choose for these rebuilds. Usually I like to find a system that's pretty barren that I have to build up, but for Miami, they're in a decent spot. Entering this season, their system was ranked 16th and 19th by MLB Pipeline and Bleacher Report respectively. So overall, this is a pretty middle-of-the-pack system that does have a bit of upside, but just isn't loaded with a bunch of high-end prospects. Kicking off the list of top 10 prospects will be starting pitcher Thomas White. He's the 38th ranked prospect in the MLB, a 2023 CBA pick with an ETA of 2026. His high B potential is tantalizing, and it's easy to see why he's the top dog in the system. At number 2 is the shortstop Starlin Caba. He was acquired from the Phillies this past offseason in a trade for Jesus Luzardo, and he's ranked 77th in Major League Baseball. ETA is 2027, and he also has high B potential. Big-time defensive profile, and he can hit for days. That power is a major concern at this point. We'll have to train that hard. Probably won't look to get him in the majors until those are at least in the 30s. If he can find a way to hit about 10 to 15 dingers a year in the majors, he could have a really incredible career. Starting pitcher Noble Meyer is our 3rd ranked prospect and the 81st ranked prospect in the MLB. The 2023 first-round pick has ETA of 2026. He doesn't have incredible potential, only in the low to mid Bs. That being said, He looks like a strong strikeout pitcher and someone who could be a very solid mid-rotation starter. Agustin Ramirez is the first of two high-rated catching prospects for us. He was acquired from the Yankees in the Jazz Chisholm trade. We'll see him sometime in year one, definitely more of a bat-first profile with low B potential. Also has first base as his secondary position, so if our other top catcher, who I'll get to in a bit, pans out, he'll probably shift over there for us. At number 5 is the 2025 international free agent signing, shortstop Andrew Salas. He signed for an impressive $3.7 million bonus, and it's easy to see why he was so highly coveted. At only 17 years old, he's got low A potential and elite defensive upside. The bat will need a little bit of work, but the current profile certainly can be molded into a high-end hitter by his ETA of 2030. Left fielder PJ Morlando comes in at number 6. The 2024 first-round draft pick has high C potential and an ETA of 2028. The thing about him is he has a very balanced profile, but no loud tools. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not really sure, but there's definitely some stuff to like here. Center fielder Dylan Head was acquired from the Padres in the Luis Arias trade last year, and he comes in ranked at number 7. He also has high C potential with an ETA of 2028. More of a defense speed profile who intriguingly hits lefties better than righties, which is kind of odd for a lefty bat. Starting pitching prospect Robbie Snelling is another player acquired from the Padres. He came over in the Tanner Scott trade last year, and he'll land at number 8 on our list. Now, MLB Pipeline lists his ETA at 2025, but looking at his current overall, I can pretty much guarantee that's not happening. He does have low B potential though, so if we can expedite his development, he could be a nice starting option. The 9th ranked prospect Joe Mack will be the second catcher inside our top 10. The 2021 first-round pick hasn't been outstanding with the bat in his professional career, but he is a high-end receiver behind the plate. If he could find a way to tap into his good power consistently, he could be a very nice catching option with his low B potential. We should see him at some point in 2025 as well. Rounding out our top 10 will be the mid-B potential shortstop Carter Johnson. The 2024 second-round pick has an ETA of 2028. He's got a pretty well-balanced profile with some defensive versatility. Not a bad guy to wrap up our top 10. Before we go on and get out of here, let's take a quick peek at our lineups in rotation. Some minor changes when we face lefties, mostly swapping some platoon righties in. Our rotation will look like this. I see some upside here, but not the greatest overalls. Bullpen ain't so pretty. And that's all I got for you guys in this one. The next episode will be opening day against Paul Skeens. So if you guys want to see me strike out like 20 times, be sure to tune into that one. But in the meantime, between time, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'm gone. Deuces.